There, Ann Bunny here, and if you are writing a business book, I got another important tip for you. Have a structure to your book and have a clear transformational journey that you're taking your reader on. So I get a lot of people coming to me, a lot of writers coming to me, a lot of experts coming to me, and they recognize that their personal story is integral to the book that they want to write. And they want to share everything. They want to tell all their stories, their pain stories and their moments of triumph. And where they get into trouble, it's not using personal story, because personal story is super attractive, particularly when those stories are relevant to the journey that you take your clients on, be they your audience members listening to your speech, or your coaching clients, or your consulting clients. Like, they hire you or they bring you onto their stage because they want to go on a very specific journey, and they know that you can take them on that. You can bring them some sort of transformation. So like I said, where people get into trouble, they start bringing in all of their stories, and they create this, like this wild goose chase over hill and dale. And there's no shaping, there's no container. It's just story after story. And by the time the reader gets like 30 pages through, they don't know where they're going. They're not sure why your personal stories are even relevant to them. So let me give you an example. Ann Peck came and she was writing a book, and she knew that her personal stories, she wanted to tell these stories. She knew that they were really powerful, and she wanted to share these stories of shame. For her, they were stories of sexual shame, her sexual journey. And she felt like if she was willing to share these stories, that other women that she served in her podcast, in her coaching group, would be inspired to lose their own shame story, to own who they are, to share their secrets, and thereby free themselves to be who they're meant to be. But when Ann started, she was like telling all of these stories, and it was random, and it was this kind of like, where are we going here? What are we trying to teach people? What kind of transformation, what kind of new way of thinking do we need to bring people to? So this involved creating a container, figuring out where the beginning point was, where the end point was, what she learned along the way, these very specific way stations. So we created an outline. We identified the stories that were in fact relevant to that end result that she wanted to take her readers on, relevant to them, not just somebody telling a story, right? So when we shaped this material, what happened is her book ended up being so powerful that she won a whole bunch of book awards, and she has like all these people following her. They don't even care what she writes about. They just love her writing. And she's really big now. She's got a great business around helping empower women to tell their own stories, to tell their pain and shame stories. So key lesson, don't just tell random stories. Identify those key stories that are going to be relevant to your audience. Make them relevant to your audience. And think in terms of a trajectory, a transformational path, and make sure all of the stories that you're sharing in between your concepts and your facts and your lessons, each of those stories leads to that end result that you want your clients or your audience members or your readers to get to, that new understanding. Hope this was helpful. Hey, if you want even more tips, check out the free PDF I have down below. The 5 big mistakes people just like you make when they're writing a business book. See you on the other side.